Today I wanted to talk about two really cool tools within Canvas, and that is going to be the discussion boards and quizzes. So you should be able to see my screen right now. I'm on my dashboard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hop into my example class here, and we're going to go to modules because as I keep stressing in every single one of the sessions that I've done, you will want to stick to modules for organizing your content. It just makes it easier to move it. But anyway, I'm going to go to my module, and the first thing I want to talk about today is discussions, or discussion boards. Now, a discussion board is a place where students can have online conversations with each other in a controlled environment. So some uses for a discussion board could be like having students post their bell work in there. You could have students have a pre-discussion, like a homework assignment, like I'm going to post a discussion board. I want you to come on here tonight or whenever and do it as homework, answer the question, and then they can have a discussion amongst their peers. And then when it's over, you can lock the discussion board and things like that. So it's a really cool tool with a lot of different uses for classroom teaching. But to get started, I'll have to go up here and hit the plus button in the top right corner. We see assignment is automatically selected, but I'm just going to click here and I'm going to go down to discussion board. Now I can select the discussion board that I've already created, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hit the create topic button and I'm going to enter a topic name. Let's say movie discussion. We'll hit add item. Of course, that added a discussion board to the bottom, but I want it up here on Tuesday. So I'm going to take this and hover over these dots, and I'm going to just drag it up here. I also want to indent it so it matches. So I'll click on these three dots and hit increase indent. I'll now click on it. Once in here, we can see it's completely empty. So I'll hit edit up in the top right corner. And at this point, this is the area where you can type in the instructions. For today's purpose, I'm not going to have you watch me do all the instructions. I'm just going to put a question. What is your, let me think of a good question. What movie would be made better if it were turned into a musical? So that's going to be my question. I've typed it in right here. I might also include some instructions like, how long should the post be? How long should their answer be? Do you want them to be required to respond to other people? You really do have a lot of options for what you can type in here, but I'm just going to put my question for the sake of today's purposes. Once I scroll down here, we'll see that I have an area to add an attachment. So like if I want to say review the PowerPoint and provide your thoughts or something to that effect, I could attach something to this. Down here, we have some options. Now, the first option is allow threaded replies. I really like threaded replies because it helps keep the discussion board more organized when you have a whole class in here actually participating. So what the threaded reply does is it basically has the parent comment and then everyone that replies, it's indented underneath of it. Whereas if you don't select threaded replies, it's all just one big list of posts. So I like threaded replies. This is an interesting tool. So it's users must post before seeing replies. What that means is when students come to the discussion board, they won't actually see what any of their classmates typed until they've typed their own answer and submitted it. So that could be good if you're using this as a sort of assessment tool, and you don't want or you just want original ideas. You don't want everyone copying off of each other. So that's a pretty good option. I would probably definitely use this if I was doing this as a homework assignment. Podcast feed, there's some sort of podcast tool in Canvas. I'm honestly not super familiar with that. I've never used this button before, and I've never known anyone that has. Maybe shoot me an email if you have used it, because I'd be curious to know. Graded. So you can choose to grade discussion boards. By default, they aren't, but you can grade them. So for today's purposes, I'm going to select graded. And then finally, the last thing is allow liking. You can set it up so it's kind of like social media where you can like somebody's post. Some people use this, some people don't. This does not give students the ability to downvote, so you don't need to worry about that. Scrolling down with our options, I'm going to skip groups for right now, but I will come back to it. Points, this is where you can assign points if you want to grade it. You can choose how it's displayed. So I'm just going to leave minus points. You can also do complete, incomplete. Kind of up to you. You might notice the Sync to Infinite Campus button has popped up in your Canvas. This doesn't work yet. It's there, but it's not turned on. So, if you try to use it and it doesn't work, it's not supposed to work. Assignment group, we won't worry about that because we organize our stuff in the modules. There is a peer review thing that I'll cover in another training. And then finally down here, just like regular assignments, we have our due dates. So I'm going to put a due date. And then, of course, you can change the time if you want to as well. And you can also make this available. So let's say I don't want anyone to post into this discussion board until tonight at 12 o'clock in the morning. So when it flips over to Friday, now they can respond. Let's say that I want to close it off. I'm going to say, yeah, the 23rd, that's the last time that you have a chance to post it. Now, if you recall from the regular assignment training, these available from dates are not required to use. Basically, it just makes it so that you don't have to remember to publish something if you don't want students to be able to access it before. So students won't be able to post here. If you don't want to lock it up, you can use one or the other. If you don't need to use them both, you can use one or the other or both, or you don't have to use them at all. But those dates basically make your discussion board and other assignments visible. Okay. Now that I have set all that up, I want to come back up here and show you how you can do the group discussion. Group discussions basically give each group of students a set different discussion board that only they that they can see. So they're not going to be able to see other groups. So this would be good for like grouping activities. I always think back to like when I was a science teacher, I could have put my lab groups into discussion groups, and then they would have had their own space to communicate and to type things out into the discussion board without every other group being able to see it. So the way to enable this is to check the box here that says this is a group discussion, and it's going to ask you to give it a group set name. So I'm going to do movie discussion groups. Self-sign up. This gives students the ability to choose what group they're going to join. I'm not going to demonstrate that right now. And then down here, you've got group structure. So you can, I'm going to just choose the option to split students into, let's say, 3 groups. It says require group members to be in the same section. And then down here, you can set a leader. I believe that just gives the student the ability to kind of like control the discussion posts, like they can moderate it and things. I really don't know. I can't think of a purpose for that, but that option is available, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to. Okay, so now I've chosen my option here for group structure, and I'll hit save. And now I've got my discussion groups. I'll hit save and publish to make it active. And as we can see, my view has changed a little bit here. So I've got these 3 things right here. I can select this to go into the different groups as the teacher and see it. Students will only have their own group discussion here. Yeah, you can do a whole bunch of stuff with that. So I'm going to hit, if you want to reply to a discussion board, you just have to type the reply button right here. You can type it out. So I think Titanic would make a great musical. That's going to be my answer. Now I'm going to hit post reply. Obviously, you'd probably want, a little bit more oomph to your discussion boards, but just for demonstration purposes, that's what I'll do. So now I'm able to post on that, and then people can hit the reply button to reply back to me. Let's see. Awesome opinion, Tyler. And as we can see, here's my threaded replies. So, you can respond to all that. They can come up here and they can delete or edit their topic. Now what I'm going to do to go back is I can either come up here and hit switch group to go to the different discussion areas, or I can like look at this. So this is kind of like a group view. And also, by the way, I forgot to mention this before. Once you have the group set, you can go to edit group and change the name if you want to. Okay, now I am going to just type the class thing up here so I can back out of that. And that's discussion board. So you are able to set up the groups. It works pretty nicely. Now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into quizzes. For quizzes, I'm going to go to my modules, and I'm going to hit the plus button on whatever module I want my quiz to go into. So let's say I want to put it on Tuesday in week 2. I'll hit plus, select where it says assignment, and then I'm going to go to quiz. I do have some quizzes made already, but what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create a new quiz. And you'll notice that it actually gives me the option to choose between a new quiz and classic quiz. I highly suggest you use the new quizzes tool because the old quizzes is going to be going away at some point. So I would say from here on out, just build all of your quizzes and new quizzes because you'll have less work to do when you are, when they take away the classic quizzes. Now I'm going to give it a name. Let's say movie discussion quiz. I'll hit add item. And you'll notice you got a little rocket ship here. That's the signal that they use for this. I'm going to indent it. I'll click on it. And you'll notice that once I click on it, because it was empty, it automatically brings up this edit page. So now I can give it points if I want to. Assignment group, really not necessary. We'll do points here. Due date, I'm just going to make this tomorrow at midnight. Again, won't go over this again, but you can use those dates if you want. And now that I've set the overall assignment settings itself right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the build area. So clicking build down here. And what this is going to do is it's going to open the new quizzes options. You kind of got this little neat area here. There's a lot of information on here. You'll see that I've got my title up here. I can change that at any point by hitting the pencil. There's an area for instructions, so I'll just type that little pencil over there, and I'm going to put select the correct answer for the questions below. Now I'm going to hit done. And so then that creates it. Now what I can do is I can start building my quiz downwards by hitting this plus button right here in the middle. You'll notice that once I hit plus, it gives me a whole bunch of different types of questions. And I'm not going to bore you by going through all of these. I'm just going to go through some of the more, common ones. So let's just do simple multiple choice here. Question title, I'm just going to do question 1. If you could even put like level 2 question, level 3 question, however you want to do this. I'm going to put, in fact, let's do that. I'm going to put level 3 question. Now what I can do is I can type my question in here. What color is a fire hydrant? So I've typed in my thing, and now I've got some answers here. Let's do green, yellow, red, purple. Now I know that some fire hydrants can end up being, different colors and stuff, but I'm gonna do red. So I select the answer that's the correct answer. And then down here, I have some options for my individual question. So if I want an on-screen calculator to show up during the quiz, I can check this. So that just brings a calculator up so students can use it. Could be good for math tests if you allow calculators. You can do vary points by answer, so you can actually set this so that it'll have varying degrees of points based on what they select. So maybe they get a half a point for yellow. And then this is a great choice for anti-cheating, is shuffle choices. So if you select that, every student that takes the quiz is going to have a different order of answers. If you had outcomes in your class, which I'll cover at a later training, you could select an outcome to link it to here. And then down here, there's a really cool area called item banking. And what item banking does is it allows you to create banks of questions. So let's just click add to bank. I'm going to do a new item bank, and I'm going to do quiz bank. And what these banks do is they allow you to basically store questions in banks, and then you can access them at the top. I'm done with this question though, so I'm going to hit done. And you'll notice that I have added this to a bank. If you do ever get to a point where you have banks created for questions, you can hop up here into the item banks area. And from here, you can find there's a whole bunch of different item banks here that you can look at. You can go to institution banks. It says I don't have any banks, probably because I turned this quiz into a bank. And I can also create new ones here. And basically what you can do is it's the same view as this. You just create a bunch of questions and then you can plug them into your quizzes. So it's kind of something interesting to play with. I personally don't use it a whole lot just because every time I create a quiz, I just copy the quiz into other places. I don't really use banks. But the option is there if you want to. Since we were talking about settings before I go through a couple other question types, there is a way that you can set overall quiz settings, and that's by clicking up here where it says settings. And you can set it so that every single question shuffles the questions, or so that the quiz shuffles the questions. They'll be in a different order for each student, and it shuffles the answer. Another option you have is setting it so that they will only see one question on the screen at a time. Otherwise, they can just scroll through it. You can require a student access code. I don't really know why you would use that, but it is available if you want to, so they have to put in a code to be able to take the quiz. You can set a time limit here if you want to. So let's say my class is only 40 minutes long, so I am going to set that time limit to 40 minutes. Filter IP addresses, I really don't know what the point of that is. You can choose to allow a calculator, and recall, the settings that I showed before, that was just for an individual question. This is settings for every question. So this will change every single question to have these settings. You can allow a calculator for the whole quiz. You can allow multiple attempts. So you can decide what score it keeps. So I'm going to have it keep the highest score. Actually, you know what? I'm going to be mean. I'm going to do the latest score, which means that whatever was their most recent one, they can take. There is a allowed attempts, so you can limit it. I'm going to allow it to 1 attempt, and then you can even require time in between attempts. So if you want them to wait till the next day, if you select this, you can make it a whole day before they're allowed to take this again. And then finally, the last option is to restrict the student result view. These quizzes do grade themselves, so, other than the essay questions and things like that. So students will see their score once they submit the quiz, unless you select this. So maybe you want to restrict their view for now, and then they can see their grade later on, just come back in here and unchange this. That way you'll be able to, prevent them from seeing their score before they leave class if you want to. So now I've set my settings, and I'm going to go back to the build area. Moving on with different question types. To continue moving on, you can hit the plus button right here. And another one that's kind of common is true and false. So I'll go, the Earth is flat. I'm going to select that I want this answer to be false. Again, here's some options, and we'll notice that some of the other options went away from the last time because I made it enabled for the entire quiz. Oops, I messed this up, so I'm going to do this question titled. I do that all the time. We'll say that this is a level 2 question. And then, is the Earth, oh wait, the Earth is flat. Okay, so I selected false as my option. If I wanted to add it to my bank, I could do that if I want to use banks, and then I'm going to hit done. Hit plus, and again, you've just got a whole bunch of different results here, and all the true and false, multiple choice, multiple answer, a bunch of these grade themselves. Some of the ones that don't are like essay. Essay won't grade itself, so you will have to go into SpeedGrader later on and grade the essay questions. But like I said, a lot of these do grade themselves. There's a formula thing here. I've never used this one, but like you can like put in formulas and do all sorts of stuff. So, you know, I don't want to spend a lot of time going through all the different question types. I just kind of want to get you the idea of, you know, how you can actually set up the quiz. And then, you know, you keep hitting plus down here and you add all the questions that you want to add. And then when you're all done with the quiz, you can move on. And also one more thing I forgot to mention, when you click this little pencil here, do this one. You can change how many points a question is worth as well. I completely forgot to mention that, and I had apologized. But you can, like, let's say I'm going to make this one worth 5 points, and I'm going to leave this one at 1. So you do have that option to add different points down here. But yeah, you just keep hitting plus and adding questions, and I encourage you to experiment with some of the question types and see how it goes. If you ever want to preview what your quiz is going to look like, you can hit this preview button up here. Think of it like student view. And so we can see the way I have my quiz set up right now. You know, it's just two quick questions. It tells me my time up here, that my time is going down. Once I select my answers, I can hit the submit button up here. It warns me. Hit submit. It's auto grading it, and I allowed myself to see the results, and I got 1 out of 6 points. Said I took 22 seconds and gave my percent, and you will be able to see this in reports after the fact. So this is what my finished product looks like. To add additional questions, I would just have to keep hitting this plus button and selecting my type. Now that I've kind of gone over like actually building a quiz, there's 2 more things that I want to show you that you can do with settings on your quizzes. So the second thing I wanted to talk about is the reports area. So if you click on reports, once a student has taken your quiz, you can click on this and it will tell you all that detail that we just saw in that preview student screen. It'll tell us how long it took them to take it, what their overall score was. It'll notify us if we have any that we have to grade still. It will basically do all of that for us. So it's going to give us reports on all the data, you know, how long they took, how many questions they got right. You'll have to kind of play around in this area. I don't have students to test this with, unfortunately, but this is where the reports area is. Now that we've gone through reports, the last thing I wanted to show you is the moderate area. So if I go over to moderate, from here, I can actually change things for students, like, and give them special rules. You can search for students up here if you get a longer list than me. And let's say Michelle was absent today, and I want to give her a break on this particular quiz. I can hit the moderate button over here on the right, and I can give her an additional attempt if I want to. I can also do time adjustments. I can remove her time limit if I want to. And so that basically allows the student to have different rules for this particular quiz based on certain circumstances. Additionally, you can set it so that, let's say you have a student with an IEP. Let's say Jackie here has an IEP and she's never supposed to have time limits. Instead of having to go in and change this for every quiz, what I can do is I can actually add an accommodation for her that will apply to all quizzes that I give her. So for Jackie, I can come over here and hit this pencil under the accommodations area. And it says here that these settings will be applied to all course assessments for the student. What I can do is I can hit this little box right here. And I'm going to remove the time limit. She's never supposed to have a time limit due to her IEP, so I'll click on that. And then I can hit save. And now that is an accommodation that will apply to every quiz that Jackie takes. So from this point forward, her IEP will be accommodated on all of my Canvas assessments without me even having to think about it. It's just going to do it automatically. So that's kind of neat. So again, this moderate area over here, this is where you can make a change for a student for this particular quiz. And then this area right here, the accommodations area, is where you can set accommodations for the student that will apply to all of their quizzes. And then finally, you know, in the moderate area, you can also see how many attempts they've done, their score, their time, all that stuff. So you have a lot of information in here. I really like this new quiz tool. Like I said, not only should you use new quizzes, but it actually works a little better than the old one as well. I like that it has a different layout. And that is that. So hopefully you found today's session informative. Feel free to shoot me an email. Again, Tyler Shaben, the secondary tech trainer. Feel free to shoot me an email if you have any additional questions. And definitely, you know, feel free to play around with new quizzes. It does a lot of cool stuff that I just didn't have time to cover everything today. But there's a lot of cool question types. And, you know, if you play around with it a little bit, you'll probably find some really neat stuff that you can do with it. But have a great day.